right, welcome to Design for Agents Business Spotlight. Today we have a very special guest. He's the CEO of the Gold Bar team. You may have seen him talking alongside of Ricky Carruth. He's probably one of the most inspirational leaders coming out of New York. So please welcome Juan Barreneche.
Alex, thanks so much, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. So thank you for popping on. Your story is super inspirational. You've been in the business for about a decade now, right?
I wish I got into it at 2016, so I think we're coming up 7 years. So if we're
Okay.
rounding up, yeah, we could say a decade. You're
Yeah.
making me
So
feel old.
No, well, I've been in it a decade, so I've been in it for about 3 years longer than you. But
Nice.
when you came onto the scene, you've made a lot of ripples very, very quickly. So please tell us a little bit about your come up story. You've done a lot of great things. You were president of NARREP and all these great organizations. So please tell us a little more about the beginning and where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, I got started in real estate in 2016 after deciding not to go to medical school. I had this epiphany back in my junior year in college that I no longer wanted to be a surgeon. Instead, I wanted to become a massive real estate investor. And I thought to myself, well, what other best way to get into this business than learning it from the ground up? So I got my license in 2016. I started out with Keller Williams. And my first year, I went out there, I hustled, I bustled, I knocked on doors, I sent out emails, I did cold calls. I ended up falling flat on my face. I only sold one house. And it wasn't until someone told me, go out there and hire a mentor. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Someone's already done what you wanted to do, that something clicked. So my second year, I hired a coach. I did multiple six figures. From there, that coach taught me how to start a team. So I started my team in 2018 when I switched over to eXp Realty. From there, I built the team very quickly, scaling it from 12 million in sales to 24 million in sales to then doing 39 million in sales to then 85 million in sales. And then by then, I essentially scaled out of production. By the time I scaled out of production in 2020, 2021, I was mostly just focused on recruiting and attracting agents to my organization. From there, I was able to bring on 1,200 agents to my company, which I collect a small piece off of, which is pretty cool. And then once I had that epiphany, okay, I've kind of mastered sales. I've mastered building a team. I've mastered building a brokerage. What's next? That's when I came back to education. And I realized I built a lot of systems along the way and I documented those systems. So what I wanted to do was package them up and give them back to the agent community. So I developed Gold Bar, which is a real estate training platform open to agents from all brokerages. And what we give them is a 3-stage training program that helps them get to 100K, $250,000, and then $500,000. But instead of just giving them training videos, we give them the exact scripts, templates, and software that we use to hit our goals. So that's really my main focus now. It's to grow the Gold Bar community to 10,000 agents worldwide. And to just focus on multifamily syndication. We have a great operator here down in Florida. We're putting in offers on 100, 200 unit apartment buildings between Central Florida, Tampa, and Jacksonville. My goal really moving forward is to amass a massive real estate portfolio, help agents along the way, and help others become financially free.
Awesome, man. So yeah, I definitely love the fact that you did it like a lot of us do. We came in thinking that we were mainly focusing on investing, and the best way is kind of to be a real estate agent. I know a lot of agents, including myself. I went negative $8,000 my first year. So at least you sold the house. I didn't. I spent more money than I made. So the come up is real, and in 7 years, that's not even a long time. You were able to accrue such a huge organization, and now you're here, right? So I know you mentioned that you had a course or platform that you're utilizing right now to educate agents to get to 100K, then a quarter mil, so on and so forth. Tell us a little bit about those strategies that you utilize personally, that your mentor taught you to start scaling, right? So what were some things that you started implementing right away? And then, tell us a little more about that.
Absolutely. So something I realized it was that it was never just one thing. Instead, it was multiple things and me learning every single part of the business. So when I got started in 2016, the reason I wasn't making money is I didn't know anything about sales. I didn't know anything about generating leads, nurturing leads, or converting leads. And what I had to do was go out of my way to learn the sales process specific to being a real estate agent. So once I mastered sales, the next thing I needed to master was branding and marketing. I didn't know how to set up a landing page, how to create a funnel, how to run an ad, or let alone create an online presence. Once I learned that, it was like adding fuel to the fire. And then once I knew a way to build a database, nurture that database, and leverage online media to go ahead and kind of add everything up, I needed a way to hire staff. I needed to learn implementation of leverage. I needed to learn how to design systems and integrate APIs and leverage software. And that's really when everything took off. So for me, it was more so about learning a specific part about branding, sales, marketing, operations, and staff one by one by one. And then as all that wisdom and knowledge came together, it gave me the ability to go out there and scale out of production. So I think when you're a brand new agent getting started, your goal shouldn't be to learn everything. It should be to learn one thing at a time, master it, and then go on to the next.
So would you say, before marketing and branding, you have to learn sales skills, hands down,
Yeah,
right?
I think sales is the lifeblood of any successful real estate agent. I've met a lot of people who knew nothing about real estate and did very well just for the let alone fact that they knew how to sell. And when I say sell, I'm not talking about convincing someone to buy or sell property because that's very hard to do. Imagine you don't want to sell your house and a good enough salesperson convinces you to put it on the market. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about selling yourself. I'm talking about selling the skill set that you have, the experience that you have, the conviction and the ambition that you're going to bring to the table when you're assisting them in actually interviewing for the job of being their agent. And if you could just sell yourself on being a potential agent in the future for them, then the only thing you have to do is go out there and sell yourself to 5, 10 people a day, add them to your database, nurture them. And then one day you're going to get a call for a referral.
Yeah, for sure. No, I actually love that because a lot of people, when they hear sales, right, they automatically think of hard selling, knowing the tactics, knowing the magic pill that's going to get everyone to say yes. When the reality is, there's a lot of no's that are going to come, especially for newer agents. No's are going to come. How you deal with those no's, how you nurture that relationship is way more important than actually, trying to do some verbal judo and get them to list with you. And if you did do that, they're probably not going to be happy with your service anyway. I think it's more about providing an experience. If we took the sales like cliche off of it, I think it's more about how can you sell yourself and also create an experience for the potential client. In regards to sales, what were some maybe books, something that you studied in order to kind of master those sales skills?
So I'll give you a great book. It's actually the one right there in that corner. I'm seeing if I can try to point to it. It's by my friend Rene Rodriguez. It's called Amplify Your Influence. And at the time, there was no book. Now we're very fortunate to the sense that he actually put his entire brain and put it into a book of knowledge. But
Yeah.
back in the day, I had to pay a lot of money to go to one of Rene's training conferences. It was a 3-day training experience. And during that experience, he basically taught me the psychology of sales and why anyone would want to hire you when it comes to your product or service. So essentially what Rene started out doing was make me realize that my core values, who I am as a person, is going to be more valuable than anything else when it comes to a real estate transaction. People are not hiring a company. They're not hiring a brokerage. They're hiring who you are as a person and what you're going to do to get them the result they're looking for. So Rene was someone that really gave me insight in regards to how to go out of my way to learn the psychology of sales, learn the psychology of a human being, and then what I could do to help them get to their goals faster. And then whenever you can provide a product or service that helps them get to their goals faster, easier, or simpler, you've mastered what you've done at sales.
Awesome. So in regards to sales, I know that there's tactical and then there's
Yeah.
psychological, right? So in regards to tactical, do you have any books that you recommend or any mentors or any people to watch on YouTube that you recommend for the tactical side?
For the tactical side, I'd have to say I still think the Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller is very good because it lays out a nice little blueprint for you on what the process is to go from zero to $1 million a year in GCI. I would also say that the Hyperfast Hyperlocal Agent, I forgot the name of the agent. Yeah, it just goes over the logical portion of the work that's required to do on a daily basis to get to your goals. A lot of what we built Gold Bar on is a combination of the psychological and the logical. Because I'll be honest, 95% of this business is psychological in the sense that we all know we have to door knock. We all know that we have to make cold calls. We all know that we have to go out there and prospect daily, but no one actually does it. And that's not a logical thing. Like, we're all aware we have to get up and go to the gym and do the work. But psychologically, we can't find the confidence, the self-esteem, the desire, the initiative to get out of bed and go to the gym or get out of bed and make the cold calls. So I think if people focus on the psychological first, they would be way better off than going after the logical.
Yeah. And I also feel like a lot of that is habitual, don't you think? Like, I feel like the habits that we kind of come into real estate with, it's kind of like you're going to be forged through the process,
Yes.
right? It's not like you come in, you think you're going to be doing all this, but then you don't door knock as much as you should. Maybe you have a bad interaction with a person and you hang up the phone and you just don't want to pick it up again, and you don't, right? I think it's more of like a forging process, right? And then the more you get used to it, the more you're able to adapt. That's when, like, year 3, year 2, that's when everything starts taking off and you start seeing exponential growth. So we
And
talk.
I want to touch base on that because what you just mentioned is gold in the sense that I think real estate to me was a magnifying glass, and it
Mhm.
magnified all of my insecurities. It magnified my bad habits. It magnified my inconsistencies, and it really brought to nature whatever I was struggling with in my personal life, I would now visualize and actually see in my business itself. So business is a direct reflection of your personal life. And if you could get your shit together in your personal life when it comes to your habits, your routine, your consistency, your business becomes easy. It's just showing up, doing the work, and you get the results. So I think that's a huge deal that you just made.
Yeah, for sure. And I like to tell my agents and people that I speak to that being in real estate is kind of like being in doing 75 hard. You might never get to the end of 75, but the more you do it, the more you try, the better you're going to get at showing up, and you're going to kind of make that more of a lifestyle. I have to like pinpoint that like real estate is a
Yeah,
lifestyle, not just something that we get into that we're going to like get right away. Some people do, right? Some people get it faster than others. However, like you said, it's a direct reflection of your habitual inner self. Um,
absolutely. Hmm.
so if I feel like if those people that have consistency in working out, doing those things, that kind of, like you said, translates into their business. So strategy one, getting your psychology right, understanding sales. Second strategy, you started talking about marketing and branding, right? You started focusing on that to amplify your business so it could start coming to you rather than you going out as much to actually receive that. Can you tell us a little more about that process?
So stage two is really about building trust and credibility within your community. During stage one, which is you learning sales and getting the right habits and mindsets and routine in place, you're basically just going out of your way to build relationships with as many people as you can. However, once you get to that stage two portion where you want to start amplifying things, the goal is to now start building a brand, to start building recognition. People need to know who your name is. They need to know what you're about. They need to know what makes you different from every other agent in the market. And the only way to do that is with proper branding and marketing. So, first thing we do is we do a branding audit with the agent. We tell them, type in your name on Google and see what pops up. If you're not popping up with a professional Google My Business profile, tons of reviews, your Zillow profile completed, a nice SEO professional website, and your Instagram really fully completed so people know you're in the business, you're already behind to the top producer. So, number one, you have to do a branding audit when it comes to your online presence. And then number two, you have to learn how to start creating paid ads, how to drive SEO, how to leverage organic content to redirect people to a landing page. And then once they don't know what a landing page is, well, now I have to teach them what a landing page is and how it works and why it's different from a website itself. So these are all things that I don't think are necessary in the beginning, because at the end of the day, you're just trying to learn sales and close maybe 10, 15 deals a year. But once you start scaling and you want to actually create a system or you want to create a machine that's going to pump you out referrals, then branding and marketing is the way to go.
Yeah, so I just want to pinpoint that because that's a really good point. So the beginning, first year, you may not have a lot of money to invest, right? And if even if you did invest, you don't know how to sell, so you're not actually going to have the tenacity to actually get through those first couple of deals, right? But once you start understanding sales, understanding what you're doing and how the business works, right? There's always something new that pops up, but once you kind of really understand what's going on, then you can make that sidestep into marketing, branding. I know you said originally you used Zillow Premier Agent, as did I. When I started scaling, that's actually why I went negative 8,000 the first year, is because I had no sales skills, no ability to close, and I was investing a ton of money into Zillow. And back then, they actually had like contracts. So once you're
Yeah.
in, you're in. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know what a good budget was, so I just went crazy. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna close all these deals, and I ended up closing like none, right? I was just like a chicken with head cut off. So Zillow Premier Agent was one. I know now you're utilizing Facebook ads, Google ads. I know with EXP they have the Make It Rain program, so they kind of target a specific area. You drive traffic to your website, you convert through that. Um, when you started scaling, what was your? I know you use Zillow Premier, right? Was there any other things that you utilized as well?
Yes. So we use different sources. I think if we went back and we audited where all our deals came from, it probably came down to five. So number one was actual business owners. It was accountants, financial advisors, attorneys, mortgage lenders, and title companies that we built relationships with that allowed us to generate a lot of referrals from them. And the referrals weren't free. We obviously had to send them referrals. We had to do events with them. We had to commit time and money to their organizations. It was things where the relationship was nurtured over time. And then once it was built, it would just send us half our business. So I think 50% of our business came from business owners. Next came from networking events that we put together. I was very big on doing first time homebuyer seminars. And then I switched it from first time homebuyer to first time investor. The second I made that switch, I started attracting a lot of the bigger pockets crowd, meetup.com crowd, a lot of people that wanted to get started in house flipping and wholesaling and things like that. And we built a small little niche around becoming investor friendly agents. So that was a great source for us there. The third source was for sell by owners. For sell by owners to me was always low hanging fruit that if you were able to master how to build a relationship with them, stay in touch with them and add value to them, you had a pretty good chance at least getting an interview slot with them when they were ready to hire an agent. I think our best month ever, we were able to lock down 18 listings just on for sale by owners. So that was a good method there. The fourth method was online leads, which was a combination of realtor.com, Zillow paid premier agent, and also Facebook ads that we were running at the time also. And the way we saw Zillow leads, which was a little bit different than everyone else, is we were aware that about 95% of those leads were no good. And when I say no good, I mean that they weren't ready to buy or sell at that moment. However, it didn't mean that they weren't good for the future. So we literally took that entire archive of data and then we would follow up with it for a year. And we're still following up with Zillow leads, people on my team from like 2017, 2018. So that
Nice.
data's never gone. You still have a relationship with a human being. And then the fifth one, which I think went over a lot of people's heads, you mentioned that I was involved in NARAP. I was actually one of the youngest chapter presidents in the history of the organization. I was always involved with NAR, with NARAP, with local YPN. I was always networking with agents. I started building a really good brand as that local New York City agent. And whether I went to California for the NARAP conference in San Diego, whether I went to Renee's conference in Las Vegas, whether I was in Miami for a local YPN meetup with the Miami Association of Realtors, whatever it was, I would always brand myself as a New York City agent. And what that ended up happening was giving me tons of referrals from agents. So that was probably my five sources that I used to build my business. But I know a lot of other people that used mailers, that used retargeting ads, that use social media, organic content. I think all in all, you could probably find what we could sit down here and write
Yep.
down 40, 50, 60, 80 sources. All you need is three. And once you get those three and you really double down on them, you have a consistent pipeline of business coming in.
Yeah, I actually want to throw it out there that if you send us an email, we're going to leave an email below. We actually have 50 ways that you can actually get listings. We'll provide that to you right off the bat, so you can have a PDF. Like I said, there's unlimited
Love
ways
that.
of generating business. However, what's the most important is that you stick to about 3 to 5. So
Yes.
from every top producer that I speak to, anybody that's making over a quarter mil a year, right? They usually have 5 things that they're really, really good at, right? Me personally, one thing that I feel like I did that not everybody found enjoyable was I love door knocking around open houses. That's like my jam. Like I don't know what it was. Whenever I did a mega open house or just anything, I just love door knocking around open houses. It's the best excuse to speak to somebody and generate that conversation, get numbers, and so on and so forth. You mentioned FISBOs, right? So I want to pick your brain on this real quick. So because you had that niche of investors, right? Were you doing instant offers on the for sale by owners to kind of get your foot in the door to connect with them?
I was not. I think it's a great strategy. I think there's a lot of strategies that work for sell by owners, but I think the strategy that works for everyone is just staying in touch with them past day one. Where I
Mhm.
see a lot of people trying to go wrong is they're trying to hit a home run and convert the for sale by owner day one, which is freaking hard. Like, I don't care how good of a salesman you are. I personally thought I was great at for sale by owners, but the chances of me converting them that day one when they're getting 15 calls a day from agents that add no value whatsoever, when they just hit the market last week and they just want to give it a try on their own. Like most for sale by owners just want to give it a shot. and they want the opportunity to just go out there and test the market and see what it's like to actually put themselves out there, and give it a try on their own. And then these agents just hound them day one saying, you suck. You need to hire me. Forget what you're doing. It's never going to work. Whereas instead, I would follow up and be like, listen, Mr. Seller, I know you want to try it on your own. If at some point in the future you have a consideration of interviewing other agents, can I stay in touch with you? And then I would purposely wait for them to fail, which 90% of them did. I'd follow up with them 2 weeks later. And then they still wouldn't want to hire an agent because they're still very stubborn. Most of them are. And then I would still stay in touch. I'd follow up with them some more. I'd send them handwritten notes. I would drop them flyers and information. And usually about 30 days in, 95% of the agents would stop following up. And then it was just me and like 2 other local agents. And at that point, it's just who's the best agent when they're ready to hire someone. So my FISBO strategy was all nurturing, relationship, and long-term follow-up. And I still think anyone can use that strategy. It just takes a little bit more patience.
Yeah, I love that. You know why? Because I actually talk to my agents all the time that for sale by owners end up listing usually around week 5. So that you said that, that completely makes sense. You said around 30 days. That's 100%, almost the same amount of time that it takes that you need to follow up. I love that you said that also, that you focus on the nurturing aspect and providing value. For me, one thing that has helped my team for sale by owners, I don't actually focus on for sale by owners that much myself. But one thing that we did that really, really put us alongside and actually helped us get for sale by owner deals was doing the mega open house strategy, where we would partner along with a for sale by owner rather than putting ourselves against them and being like, hey, listen, if anyone buys your property, you got it. It's completely yours. We just want to be into the neighborhood. We work that neighborhood a lot. So we want to help you. You know what I'm saying? All those buyers that do come by that aren't, we want to take them on ourselves. So now we're working alongside them. Once they see our marketing, once they see how awesome we were when we're bringing the whole team by to door knock the neighborhood and stuff like that, that's when they're like, oh, I might need their help later on. So they always end up usually coming back to us later on, because we kind of built that alliance rather than that agent like client relationship, you know?
And it's so simple what you just described, but once again, it goes back, like you had to wait 3, 4, 5 weeks for them to actually sign on after you invest all that time, that energy, even money to run that open house. Is just the time alone. It could cost you 2, 3 hours a week. So you doing that up front is something most agents weren't willing to do. And that's why at the end of the day, you got the business.
Yeah. So, like I said, I wouldn't even consider myself a great for sale by owner, like converter or someone that hops on the phone with them often and follows up like a lot. I just kind of made that program and it just happened to fit for sale by owners a lot. So that was number 2. So we talked about the first step, which is getting good at sales. Then it's, marketing, branding, so you can kind of leverage yourself a little more, leverage your time a little more efficiently. Then you went into hiring and scaling, right? Where now maybe you're bringing on a buyer's agent, right, to help out. Maybe you're hiring a VA. I know you're big with VAs. Can you tell us a little bit about your scaling process and how you scale your business?
Yeah. So up to 100K, it's sales. From 100K to a quarter million, it's branding and marketing. From a quarter million to 500K, it's learning how to implement leverage. And leverage comes in 2 forms: technology and people. So the very first thing you're supposed to do as soon as you get to multiple 6 figures is you want to budget. I usually say about 20% of your total GCI towards staff. And when I say staff, I'm not talking about hiring a VA at the gate, because a lot of people want to hire a VA to do more cold calling for them. I'm talking about operational staff that's going to help you with admin work, with marketing, with handling calls, with taking stuff off your plate that at this point isn't the best use of your time. So the very first hire I recommend is going to be a personal assistant or a transaction coordinator. And you could usually find someone entry level at minimum wage. You could train them yourself. You could outsource the transaction coordination to someone else. But I always recommend, if you're making $250,000 a year or more, you could afford a 40K a year salary. And that 40K or even 50K a year salary that goes for that transaction coordinator is going to pay you back double. Why? Because it's going to give you 40, 50, 60 hours a week back of your time that you can invest into more lead generation. Once you're at that point where you've outsourced all the paperwork, well, next you want to outsource the showings. But instead of hiring a buyer agent like I did, and I will never make that mistake again, you should now hire a showing agent. A showing agent that's going to take all the showings off your plate. Because when you bring in a buyer agent, what a lot of people don't realize is now you have to train that buyer agent on the entire sales process. And remember, Alex, how long did it take us for us to learn sales? It could have taken us a year or 2 years or 3 years. So now we're mentoring someone for, who knows, 10, 15, 20 hours a week. We're waiting for them to develop. We're taking them on these appointments. And then what ends up happening is we're just working a full-time job becoming a coach. So instead, if we hired a showing agent to do one thing and one thing only, show houses, we've outsourced 40 hours a week of showings, inspections, appraisals, open houses to someone that could do it on that side. There's very little to no training involved because you're just basically showing them how to open a door. And now on that point, you've outsourced all your showings, you've outsourced all your paperwork. You can now just focus 40 hours a week on solid lead gen and consultations. And this is the method we'd use to get to agents to $500,000 a year. Once they're at $500,000 a year, they have two options. They could basically just automate that business. If they're running on 50% margins, make a cool 20K a month and not passive income, but it's pretty automated. It's 5 hours a week. Or they can continue scaling it, get it up to $750,000 or $1 million a year in GCI, and then make $250,000 to $500,000 a year doing nothing. So it's really all about how much money do they want to make, and then how do they implement enough wiggle room in between to outsource that staff and those expenses so that they're still making the money they want to make without actually having to work.
I love that. So one thing that really like gave me an aha moment is I definitely did that mistake, right? I took on I didn't train a showing agent, right? I actually became the mentor, I became the assistant of my buyer's agents because they didn't know what they didn't know. So I'm out there managing 4 or 5 different agents trying to be like, "Hey, I'm giving you leads. What's going on? You got what's going on with this deal? What's going on with that deal?" And you're tied down to your position, right? I think that took me a long time to kind of realize. Now that I'm not in production myself anymore at all, I kind of look back like, wow, I could have continued scaling if I didn't take on that specific role. So if I actually had a coach like you telling me that right off the bat, I could have probably kept scaling. But I kept hitting that wall of that scaling because I was trying to give them too much without, like, you know what I'm saying, without that opportunity to actually grow in their own time. Right.
And then if you want to go deep, because I made the same mistake as you. I hired a buyer agent before hiring an assistant. But if you want to go deep on this, like I've now studied agent psychology to the point where I understand why we do this. It's because when you hire a buyer agent, you're actually not paying them a salary. You're not paying them anything out of your pocket. You're just paying them on the upside, which is just factoring in 30, 40, or 50% split on whatever they make, right? What we don't realize is the reason we do this is because one of two things happen. Number one, we don't want to release control. The second we bring on an employee, we're basically saying in our minds, okay, we're going to hand off what we were doing really good and give it to someone else. And that's all with ego. We can't really grow a successful business unless we kill the ego first. Number two, we fear responsibility over someone else's livelihood. It's a scary thing to bring on your first hire because when that person comes on board and you have to pay them weekly, you know that they're depending on paying their rent, providing for their family, paying for food on the table because of you. And that puts additional pressure on a lot of people's shoulders. So the reason a lot of people start becoming these pseudo team leaders where they're half coaches and it's like 3 buyer agents and no infrastructure is because they haven't done the deep work that was necessary to give them the confidence they need to actually go out there and hire someone.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I personally feel that there's also a level of uncertainty when it comes to working or hiring somebody, right? It's also I also feel like agents who kind of make it to this level may have never ran another business, right? So now going into e-commerce, for example, I'm just going to talk on e-commerce real quickly. It's like, we can't wait to hire someone new, right? To offload and get somebody to do the part of the job that's taking us away from product development, taking us away from where we've mastered, right? So that's just a natural progression of the business, right? You have to understand that you're going to hire somebody, but make sure that you hire slow and you fire quickly, right? If it's not working out, it's not working out. You got to find somebody that's going to be that right fit for your team. But that's a responsibility that you need to take, kind of like Juan said, a little earlier on, right? If I was to go back, I probably would have done that right off the bat as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
No,
So,
so I'm on the same page with you there.
yeah. So, in regard to, so I know we spoke a lot on the 3 stages, right? Now let's talk a little bit about challenges you're facing now that you're running a bigger team, right? So what are some like consistent challenges that you would say you face now having this huge organization or having a larger team?
So the biggest challenge I would say is having to learn the management SOP of being successful business owner, right? So I never went to college to study business. I never studied management, operations. Really, I've just been a salesperson by trade. So when I got into this, I was slowly learning every single part of the business. And the last one I'm learning to learn right now is management. It's how do I go out of my way to track KPIs, hold people accountable, share my vision with the rest of the team. That's a lot of things that a lot of business owners don't do. How do I set up my mission statement and my core values to align with my hiring process? How do I fire people when I feel they are no longer in alignment with the company's core values and our goals? So this is kind of what I'm not really struggling with, but learning to adapt to and just learning the same way I learned sales and marketing. And I think a lot of that comes with you just putting yourself at the helm of the entire operation and doing the work. Right now, I've been fully managing my team with a sales manager in place, a marketing manager in place, an expansion manager in place. I would say for about the last 2 years or so. And every single week, we're developing a new SOP, a new standard operating procedure for what to do in a specific role or situation. And I've just learned that the more customized you could build out the entire management infrastructure to really deal with every situation without having to get you involved, the more it automates all of the tasks and processes of the day to day for someone to call you whenever something breaks. So my biggest fear is a fire comes up and then someone has to call me for it. Versus if a fire comes up and there's an SOP in place to do exactly this in terms of a reaction whenever something this happens, the person knows how to deal with it and then the entire business continues running smoothly.
I love that. I love that. So, for because we kind of talked about the three different scales, right? So those three different agents. We got the new agent, we got the the middle agent, you can say someone that's kind of in the thick of their career, and then you have the scaling agent. If you had to give each one of them one piece of advice, just one, and that's like you're gonna write that into
Yeah.
their book, and that's what they're gonna have to follow. What would be that piece of advice?
Okay, so for the brand new agent, let's say you're either at zero or haven't hit 100K yet, I would say to put all of your advice, I mean, all of your time into focusing on one thing. Focus on adding 5 to 10 people into your database daily. And if the only thing you do is add 5 to 10 people into your database daily, at some point you will get to six figures. That's really the one main thing for the new agent. For the agent that's hit six figures and now wants to get to a quarter million, it's kill your ego. At this point, it's not all about you. It's about how you could add value to the community, how you could build your brand, how you could build your presence. And a lot of agents have this fear of putting themselves out there. So kill the ego, stop making it all about you, and start thinking, how can I add value to others through branding and marketing? And then step three, for the agent that's hit a quarter million and wants to get to 500,000, I would say the biggest word of advice is it's okay to take on more responsibility. Because if you do want to become a successful business owner, you're going to have to take on the responsibility of hiring staff, of implementing systems. And that's, even though it may be overwhelming and cause pressure, it's okay. And it's a natural progression of life. So I think that's how I would break it up between the three stages.
Awesome, awesome. So, with that being said, now tell us a little where they can find this platform that you have set up. I'm gonna link it in below, or I'll send it out with the email. Can you tell us a little bit about that program and how that can be? Obviously, you gave the whole program overview, right?
Yes.
But where can they find it?
Yes, they could go directly to goldbartraining.com. We are releasing the new platform first week of April. And right now, the platform is really just designed to give you courses, content, education. But the new platform is designed in these three stages. So if they go to goldbartraining.com, they could get access to the pricing right now, which is going to be half of what it's going to be come April. But yes, come April 1st, we will have all the new stages on there. We'll have the scripts, the templates, the exact resources we used to sell $100 million in real estate last year. And the best part is you get an entire community, a community of real estate agents, coaches, trainers, people that are vested in wanting to help you get to your goals. And if anyone has any questions on Instagram, they could just reach out to me at Juan Goldbar.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm super excited to see where this goes. And I know you guys usually do speaking events. Do you have like a calendar of any upcoming events that will be going out soon?
Yeah, the last event we're going to be doing for the quarter is going to be actually next week. It's going to be on March 30th in Fort Lauderdale. And if anyone wants more information on that, they can just go to goldbarlive.com. Those events are really cool because anyone that's part of the platform gets in for free. And anyone that's not part of the platform, they get a really good taste of the trainers, the coaches, the speakers that we have on the platform training every single day. So that's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Fort Lauderdale. So if anyone wants more information on that for March 30th, just go to goldbarlive.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait to see where all this goes and where you're going to be in another 3, 4, 5 years. And if you have any questions for Juan, like he said, you can find him on Instagram. And if you have any questions in regards to, just building your business, taking it to the next level, we're always here for you at Design for Agents. So we will see you guys in the next upcoming business spotlight soon. See you later.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you.